Hello, YouTube! Welcome in, welcome in. We're watching some Dungeon Dad today. This time, we're going to learn how to play Pokemon Trainer in D&D 5e. Or at least run a monster catching campaign. This is not something I usually see from Dungeon Dad. Usually, they're bringing creatures from other media into D&D. This is more looking like we're trying to make D&D do a whole different thing, which I'm all there for. Let's find out.
When it comes to products and games inspired by Pokemon, there is a gauntlet of stuff out there ranging from genuinely cool and awesome to whatever this is.
I hated that. I hated that. Straight up, I hated that. Also, what were all the things that he showed? Because we have cassette beasts. That sounds cool! Digimon, Pal World. I think that's Monster Rancher in the background, potentially.
Whatever this is. But today we are taking a look at something built from the ground up for the nearly circular overlapping Venn diagram of TTRPG players and Pokemon fans.
Stop calling me out! Cassette Beast is legit? Oh, we're going to have to look into that at some point. I've never heard of it. Someone remind me about that. Actually, I'll remind myself when I go to edit this video later.
Welcome to the world of Eldamon. Eldamon is a book put out by Roll for Combat as part of their Battlezoo.
Oh, this is a this is a what's it called? An advertisement for Eldamon. Okay, I see. Careful, Eldamon, you might be getting attacked by the Pokemon Company.
Series of products, which I know a lot of you guys are probably already familiar with, and this one might just be my favorite because it provides something that people have wanted since 5e was in its infancy. That's something being
I'm sorry about the big ancient red dragon with a soother and a baby rattle. It's so amazing.
Pokemon in your D&D game. Legally distinct monster taming.
Careful, that's not even enough for you sometimes.
Over the years, I have seen a lot of people try and incorporate something like this into 5e to varying degrees of success. There's a lot to consider.
Also, that arc was pretty legit, not gonna lie.
When you make something like this, you need unique monster lore, player options that support what you're trying to do, and of course, game mechanics to back it all up. And if we're doing it in 5e or Pathfinder 2e for that matter, since all the Battlezoo books tend to be compatible with both, you need all of that to work alongside the fantasy themes prevalent in both games. So today, we're gonna check out Eldamon and see how it stacks up. The Eldamon themselves are manifestations of a force called
okay, these creatures are definitely very interestingly designed.
The Eld. The Eld is a cosmic soup of all the elements which flows through practically everything.
Okay, I'm definitely seeing we've got like an evolutionary thing going on here. This guy is very overly designed in my opinion though. I think he'd have a little bit much going on with him. But, I mean, that's D&D.
You can think of it sort of like how the weave is often described in D&D as the source of all magic, but for elemental synergy instead. Eldamon are spirits born from this energy who take on various shapes and appearances based on what element they are primarily attuned with.
So they're kind of like Fae. Honestly, not a bad option.
Of course, you've got your standard elements like air, earth, fire, and water, but just 4 elements wouldn't make for a really dynamic cast of creatures for the purposes of a monster collecting game, right? So the Eld expands to encompass 20 different elements such as darkness, light, poison, electricity, force, body, space, and time.
So basically the 18 or so standard elements from Pokemon, but then we're going to add in a few extras. Interesting.
Among others.
Wait. But there are things I can read here. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, elemental manifestations. The Eld manifests itself in places, creatures, and things all over the world. Areas of deep elemental saturation occasionally have powerful magical effects, arising from the swirling magic and energy. I feel like they pretty much said a lot of the exact same thing in there. Too many types? Not enough types. I'm used to 80 now. Oh, pardon me. Which enterprising adherents and adventurers can channel for their own benefit, or to deepen their understanding of the elements. These saturations in turn attract Eldamon, living manifestations of elements, who frolic and meld into the environments items, or creatures. Interesting. Do they have an animite type, though? That's a good question. Probably not. They probably also don't have Mario. Fail.
It's less of a primordial elemental thing like you see with the elemental planes in D&D, and more of the idea that elements are found throughout all creation. From this kaleidoscope,
which makes sense in everything, because in the way that everything works, Editor Free, make sure you're putting the planar wheel up. The material, Shadowfell, and Feywild kind of like sit right in the center of everything. And then right around that, we have the elemental planes and everything. Well, there's a lot more going on in between there, but we have the actual elemental planes. That means all that shit is bleeding right into the center, forming the Shadowfell, the Feywild, and the material plane. So it makes sense that all that shit should be kind of like pouring right into the middle of it all, in some sense. Kind of like the middle of all things. It's a Venn diagram, just with multiple circles.
Soup of elements, we get these little guys.
Yay!
Cute.
I'll take it over Pyroar.
Every Eldamon has 3 different forms. What you're seeing here is Soleo in its pet form, which is how an Eldamon generally looks when they're just kind of hanging out. However, when Soleo jumps into battle, he takes on his battle form, which is still pretty cute, but
it's looking into my soul. So interesting. They're taking more of a Digimon approach other than a Pokemon approach. So when they're, just kind of like at ease, they're cute, they're simple, then they're little. Once they go into battle, they morph into a bigger form. Interesting.
He looks ready to fight. Now this brings us to one of my favorite Eldamon features, which is their evolution method. Most Eldamon have an evolution condition that needs to be fulfilled before they can actually evolve into their 3rd form, and these conditions aren't met simply by leveling up enough times. So Leon here evolves when it understands the true meaning of courage or performs a heroic act of true bravery. Once this happens, it becomes Leonidas, who looks ready to hold back an army at the mouth of a chasm. But homie doesn't just look the part.
Solea, Sun Lion Eldamon. Soleo is incredibly brave, but that doesn't mean they're foolish or incapable of feeling fear or considering the chance of failure. Soleo have the wisdom to understand the fine line between bravery and folly, and they accede to caution when it's warranted, rather than pursue a lost cause without rhyme or reason. Of course, sometimes that lost cause is worth the sacrifice, in which case a Soleo won't hesitate. Many tales exist that lionized heroes who fought alongside a Soleo in dire circumstances maintain the courage to achieve their goal despite the odds. For instance, one land tells of a powerful evolved Leonidas. Oh, Leonidas. Ha! Who led a group of only a few hundred warriors to hold a narrow pass against a massive army of 1,000 hitting the nail a little hard on the head there, buddy.
When an Eldamon evolves, it also gains access to its unique evolutionary trait, which in the case of Leonidas is a trait called Courageous Sparkle that increases its armor class, and if it ever gains the Frightened condition, Leonidas can just...
Okay, let me, there's a lot of stuff I'm seeing here. Oh my goodness. So, evolutionary condition, helping Soleo understand the true meaning of courage or performing a heroic act of true bravery. Okay? Elemental traits, dazzling sparkles, form trait, armor of light. You wear armor formed of hardened light rays, you become 16 in your speed becomes 25. Okay. Evolutionary trait. Okay. I'm not going to read all the little bits here. Just because I'm scared to get into all that reading, but looks like there's a power progression, so 1st level, 3rd level, 5th level, 7th level. So it's almost like they're getting a spell progression setup, like Blade of Light, Lucent Beam, Reactive, they got refresh abilities. Interesting, okay.
Say no thanks and dazzle the creature who tried to frighten it in the first place. All of the Eldamon also have their own Elidex entries, which shows off their different forms and gives you some unique and quick reference.
Wow, this feels like mechanics better fit for other modules. It looks like it could work for other modules for sure. What the hell is this thing?
Information such as their type, rarity, and the game source that they come from.
Sparkies are mischievous little fire Eldamon who enjoy starting fires though always with a purpose. They're part of a natural system of smaller fires that can prevent a catastrophic wildfire later on, and they burn away blight or overgrowth, so new things can grow in their place. It's harder than it might seem for a Sparky to accomplish this since they're phased out. So they have to act indirectly by melding into the environment to prepare a healthy blaze. Unless they have a cherished friend or partner to help them out.
They also have a description for each form that provides a fun bit of flavor for every individual Eldamon. For example, Soleos enjoys hugging a friend for comfort after doing something scary, which is honestly great.
That's adorable.
Great advice for anyone, whether you're a magic elemental lion cub or not. Now as elemental spirits,
hug a friend, motherfuckers. Hug a friend. Hug your homie goodnight.
Eldamon live and exist in a state that is out of phase with...
I like the goat. The goat's fun. Puppy!
the material plane. They can see and perceive everything going on in the material world, and the opposite is true as well, but they typically can't interact with the world by default unless, of course, someone trained in the manipulation of the Eld and its magical forces were to pull them across that threshold. This bit of lore is mostly here to prevent the existence of Eldamon from entirely derailing your campaign in the event that you aren't running a game entirely dedicated to a group of players who want to be Eldamon trainers. However, it should be noted that
the unfortunate part is I would probably recommend that you do run this campaign with the intent that, okay, we're going to do an Eldamon specific campaign. Just because if you don't, then that one player who is wanting to be an Eldamon trainer sort of idea is going to force you as a DM to have to then shoehorn all that Eldamon stuff directly into your campaign, so it's going to almost become an Eldamon campaign anyway, but most of your party's not going to be able to really do anything with them, right? Unless they thought of that.
there are alternate versions of this lore that can facilitate different levels of buy-in to the whole monster taming thing. If you want to run a game that is in a setting akin to something like Pokemon, where basically every living creature is an Eldamon of some kind who just exists, there is information in here on how you can do that.
That's
the
good.
Default lore, however, is written to be as universal and uninvasive to a D&D campaign as possible, so the GM can choose how pervasive they want that Eldamon and all its lore to be. Personally, I think the idea of running a game where these little guys are just kind of everywhere and the whole party is some kind of wandering Eldamon training squad sounds pretty fun, but I do really appreciate that.
Oh, I do agree. I kind of hope that, because that's the thing about these modules, is that they're always scared to, you know, step on the toes of other modules and that sort of thing. Let's be perfectly honest. If you come up to me and I'm DMing a game of Curse of Strahd, for instance, and you're like, can I play an Eldamon trainer? Like, oh, I don't know, man. That feels like it might be pulling a little bit too much away from the whole, like, dark, gritty fantasy of, you know, Curse of Strahd. But, I mean, we can try. The only things you're going to be getting are going to be terrible, terrible little dark beasts. Just saying.
These options are all present, and they're here to cover many different situations. Like, say you have a character death, and that player wants their new character to be an Eldamon tamer. You can do that without suddenly having tons of weird spirit creatures all over the place that only started existing just now for some reason. Speaking of player options, there are 2 unique level 1 to 20 classes in the base Eldamon book. The first, as you'd expect, is the Eldamon Trainer. They are a true companion class with traits and abilities entirely centered around building up a roster of Eldamon friends and bringing them out to fight on your behalf. At level 1, you get to pick 3 common Eldamon, or your DM can provide you with 3 Eldamon appropriate to the area your character is from, and that makes up for your basic roster as you head out on your adventure. While any character can befriend an Eldamon, the Trainer is the only class that can actually use them in battle and bring their pals across the veil into the material world to fight for them.
I'm not sure I like that too terribly much. However, if we were to then take a chunk of that book and be like, and here's a trainer subclass for all the core classes. Hi, Luna. Hello. But if we were to take the trainer class and add it to all the core classes, that would probably make things a little bit more interesting, right? Let's have a barbarian who specializes in the fighting type Eldamon as an example.
So as they level up, the trainer gains a series of improvements that make them better at that, and they also gain more powers. Powers are kind of like selecting spells on a wizard spell list, except instead of getting new magic abilities that use spell slots, powers are special moves that your Eldamon can learn, and the number of powers on the trainer class table is indicative of how many powers each of your Eldamon can learn. So as you level up, you can teach your Eldamon more moves. Imagine that. The trainer also has 3 subclasses. The battler, who is of course all about training with their Eldamon to be the very best like no one ever was. Write that down. The researcher.
Write that down, that's gold.
An intelligence-based subclass that is all about learning things about their Eldamon, better communicating with Eldamon, and teaching them advanced tactics that don't necessarily throw out huge damage numbers, but will give you a lot more options in combat for navigating and using your resources.
You're Professor Oak.
And there's the Eldamon Whisperer, who is less academically inclined and more focused on the idea of connecting with Eldamon in a spiritual way. The other player class is the Elemental.
I like how we're just not talking too much about that. So we got our... It sounds like they're going to be focused on the 3 intelligence stats. So the Battler will be more charisma-based, the Researcher will be more intelligence-based, and the Spiritualist will be more charisma-based. You know...
Avatar, which is designed for those who want to fight with their Eldamon side by side, sort of, instead of summoning them to fight on your behalf. Elemental avatars are individuals who have merged with an Eldamon spirit, allowing them to charge into battle infused with the energy of an Eldamon in addition to their own abilities. This allows them to choose an elemental path to follow, which is usually the same element as the spirit inside of them, and they gain new features as they level up.
So wait. I think I might have missed a chunk on this one. I want to back up just a little bit. Oh, elemental avatar. Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah, let me just back up here. I want to just double check this.
In a spiritual way. The other player class is the Elemental Avatar, which is designed for those who want to fight with their Eldamon side by side, sort of, instead of summoning them to fight on your behalf. Elemental Avatars are individuals who have merged with an Eldamon spirit, allowing them to charge into battle infused with the energy of an Eldamon in addition to their own abilities. This allows them to choose an elemental path to follow, which is usually the same element as the spirit inside of them, and they gain new features as they level up, depending on which element they are merged with.
Okay. So this, honestly, this feels like it'd be more like a monk subclass than anything. Right? It's interesting. I'm not trying to pick it apart. They've already probably gone through a bunch of the design elements, and they probably probably thought of that sort of thing and figured, you know what, screw it, we're just going to do our own classes for both these instead of trying to attach them to all the current existing classes. That's the way I think would probably fit a little bit better, because that way you can have multiple different versions of how to do the thing, but that would also be a shitload of work.
Both of these are genuinely really solid in their design and give you a couple of different ways to make a character who lives in a world where Eldamon are pervasive, which is great. But let's take a look at the Eldamon themselves and get into how they actually work. Every Eldamon has a stat block which looks very similar to a typical stat block for any monster in 5e, but there are also a few major differences. First and foremost, the creature's hit point calculations are
a Babao, a Tusky, and Strike Height? It's apparently an angry bird. It's an air Eldamon. Okay, Strike Kite. Okay, I see.
Directly tied to its level, which makes sense. Eldamon working with a trainer are generally considered to be the same level as that trainer, so as you gain hit points, so does your Eldamon. But in the wild,
Makes sense.
an Eldamon can be whatever level the GM wants them to be, so if you are running one of these creatures, you might have to do some very quick math to establish their hit point total. They give you the average there, it's literally just a matter of multiplying that number by whatever level the creature is. The stat block also contains the monster's evolutionary condition and their power progression. This section tells you what powers an Eldamon is likely to have at which levels, so that if you are coming up with one of these monsters on the fly, you don't have to spend time picking abilities from a menu, you can just look at its level and then roll with whatever powers that says it's got.
Okay, so that's kind of, so that makes a lot, oh, pardon me. So that makes a lot more sense. So if you run into like that deer off to the side, it's kind of like the suggested spell list that you would see on a Lich or a Beholder or something like that. They obviously have spell casting built into them. But instead of like, okay, I rolled up a random encounter table. Okay, we're fighting for these little lion things from Eldamon. Okay. Oh shit, they've got all these powers. Okay, hold on, guys. We're going to have to take like a 15-minute break for me to actually get this all figured out. No, you can just look at the thing and be like, okay, once a day you can use this ability, this ability, this ability. Okay, cool. We're just going to go with that. Just run it.
This is really nice because it gives new players a starting point they can default to, and it gives the GM some quick use tools, and if the players are very well acquainted with Eldamon and what they can typically do, it gives the GM a way to surprise the party by introducing an Eldamon who might not have the typical set of powers that species usually does. There's also a unique system.
Pull the Glock. You're a deer. I pull the Glock.
Of damage resistances and vulnerabilities like any good monster taming game would have.
Oh,
and the
no.
book even includes this handy reference chart to keep track of them all. That might look a little bit familiar to some of you, but it's a different.
And unlike Pokemon, I can't read this one properly because it's so itty bitty, but a Eldamon of the same type is always resistant to itself. Interesting.
Thing, trust me. When it comes to determining how often an Eldamon shows up and if they can be added to an adventurer's party, the book also gives you a couple different options. The GM can always just decide.
Variant, skipping the request. In any game with monster collecting, one of the worst feelings is when you finally find an ultra rare monster and they don't manage to collect it. Yeah, that's true. What happened to your hand? Good old green screen effect. Maybe Windows key and the plus zoom key. It doesn't really work on the video, sadly. You might want to remove the skill check from the equation when using method 2 or method 3 and just have the Eldamon they find automatically befriend the PCs, assuming the group was often using Eldamon preferences to target the easier DC. This won't change the overall number of Eldamon they find very much, but even with advantage, you can always roll 2 1s and miss out on a rare Eldamon, which would suck. While it might feel a bit odd to have Eldamon automatically accompany the party without any check, it can be you can just consider that there were also other Eldamon who didn't choose to accompany them. True. It depends on your group, but there are a lot of people nowadays who just hate the thought of failure. And while, yes, as the type of player I am, I like to just kind of like live with what happens, let the dice fall where they may, just live with the consequences, that sort of thing. It still doesn't feel great a lot of the time. So instead of, if you know what your players are like, your best bet sometimes is just to be like, okay, I'm just going to give this to you. I'll just let you have it because you are just super excited when you saw this really cute looking sheep thing pop up out of the bush. That reminds me of the type chart of the too many types mod. Way too small for that types chart.
when an Eldamon appears, you're the GM, you can just do that. However, when operating on the day-to-day, the book recommends rolling on a table every time the players are doing something that would normally call for a loot roll. Something like winning a fight, clearing a dungeon, exploring an area, whatever. This doesn't mean that an Eldamon will always show up every single time, but just that this is a good time to have that happen, so there is a chance based on what you roll that an Eldamon does appear. There are also a ton of different
which makes sense. Because just like in the Pokemon games, you could be cooking yourself a meal at camp in Sword and Shield, and then suddenly, freaking walking salt block is coming to say hi, wants to join your party.
tables here the GM can use for generating which Eldamon shows up, what their element is, along with its unique traits and quirks for every single individual Eldamon to make them feel different. This is a great way to add some uniqueness to each individual and avoid a situation where you have just a box filled with 75 Geodudes you caught while looking for one with good IVs. If you get
I hate it. Yeah.
that joke, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get the joke. I get the joke.
Stuff in here that can really change how an Eldamon stats work, as well as a bunch of stuff that is meant to fuel roleplay, which is great and immediately made me want to try creating my own team of Eldamon.
Hold on. Eldamon doesn't have a special secret. The Eldamon has a special secret. Roll on 9B to see what it is. Eldamon has 2 secrets. The Eldamon was once friends with another hero or adventurer whether famous or not. The Eldamon was once friends with a villain, whether famous or not. The Eldamon once melded into a powerful artifact or other major magic item. Ooh. The Eldamon once melded into an incredibly dangerous creature that matches their element. The Eldamon once melded into a elemental calamity, such as a tsunami, volcanic eruption. Ooh. The Eldamon made a promise to their last friend to perform one last task, and they have yet to complete it. I like that. Turning your characters like, what's it called? Forced NPCs, turning your characters class and making quests out of all their powers. Real cool. I like that.
So I decided to make a character using everything in the Eldamon book and see how it goes. I figured a level 8 character would be a good place to start, so I rolled up a level 8 Eldamon trainer with the Battler subclass. Now, aside from my 3 starting common Eldamon, I had no way of determining.
Makes sense, by the way. That's a good way to go for it. Let's just make ourselves a Pokemon Master right away.
What Eldamon my character may have collected during whatever adventures he had endured that brought him up to level 8. But fortunately, the base rules of 5e had us covered here. According to the Dungeon Master's Guide, a party of level 8 should have roughly 34 magic items, so I figured that was a good number to just use as a jumping off point to help determine.
Magic items awarded by tier. I am today's years old when I realized this existed. Missed that page in the DMG.
How many chances this character may have had to meet an Eldamon friend. And after rolling on the standard Eldamon encounter table 34 times, I ended up with 9 confirmed Eldamon encounters, plus the 3 my character got for being a level 1 Eldamon trainer, which makes for 12 Eldamon altogether. So I rolled up 12 random Eldamon, and this is what I came up with. Bato, the Water Dolphin Eldamon. He's playful and his coloration is entirely grayscale. Grima, the Death Cat Eldamon. His tail deals slashing instead of bludgeoning damage, he's friendly, and he is a spy sent by a rival to keep tabs on me. Kidopaz, the
That's cool.
Crystal Earth Cat Eldamon. She's got a softer color palette than usual and has an arrogant personality. Luciola, the Glowworm Eldamon. She's wholesome and kind, and also very trendy. Nis, the Psychic Mouse Eldamon. He's suffering from amnesia and seems to have forgotten something important to him.
That just looks like the natural trait of this Eldamon. Oh my god. Either that or just really terrifying. This thing makes me uncomfortable. I don't know why. It just makes me uncomfortable.
What a backstory. Ophini, the Fiery Wheel Eldamon.
Jesus Christ! I am afraid.
He has a unique set of damage modifiers in that he is resistant to time damage, but vulnerable to space damage, which is not normally true for his species, and he's also very jealous. Feedy, the Life Snake Eldamon. She's translucent. Pot Fox, the Force Fox Eldamon. He's very focused. Shadapi, the Shadow Opossum Eldamon, who is very selfless.
The Shadow Opossum. It's a possum. It's a dead possum type. That's fun. I like that.
Just look. Soleo, the Sun Lion Eldamon. His dex and con scores have been reversed, so he's a bit of a glass cannon, and he's also pedantic. Sundial, the Rainbow Crocodile Eldamon. This guy is much larger than is typical for his species and has a sloppy nature, just a terrible roommate. And last but not least, Tehurtle, the Lightning Turtle Eldamon. The only thing unique about my Tehurtle is that he's manipulative, so that's cool.
Him? Manipulative? No. Look at that little face. Look at that little face. They could do no wrong.
Anyways, after all that, I definitely noticed a pattern. Most of my guys were leaning towards light, life, and fire types, so I chose to lean into that a bit. As a level 8 trainer with a charisma of 16, this character is able to have 4 Eldamon prepared that can be utilized throughout the course of a day, so I chose Soleo, Sundial, Feedy, and Ophini as our core group of 4. Not only were these some of my favorites just from their design, but also I felt like we had a real life light and fire vibe going on here. And as for the finishing touch, I gave this character a single level in Barbarian, which I retroactively decided would actually be his first level so that he could get that sweet, sweet armor proficiency. After rolling on some tables to generate his backstory, shouts out to Xanathar's Guide, Gorgon Red...
Wait, you took the Barbarian for the armor proficiency? And not the Barbarian for the unarmored proficiency?
Wood was born. The Aasimar Eldamon trainer who was raised by merchants and now travels the world with his team of Eldamon to seek out new and exciting wares. I've included a link to his NPC stat block along with his team of Eldamon in the description down below, so if you ever want to include him in a D&D game of your own, you can. Speaking of which, if you want to check out this book for yourself, you can do so in the Roll for Combat shop or over on the latest Battlezoo Kickstarter for Eldamon Legends, which is live right now. Not only is it a great way to pick up the original Eldamon book at a discount, but Eldamon Legends is the first major expansion for the Eldamon book, which includes over 150 brand new Eldamon, dozens of new powers, a ton of magic items, a bunch of legendary Eldamon, and 13 legendary quests tied to...
I like the little Reaper there. He's cute.
Said legendary Eldamon. And following with the Battlezoo tradition of giving backers content throughout the year, if you back the Kickstarter, you can get access to monthly PDF and VTT releases. Each month there will be new Eldamon stat blocks, including a legendary Eldamon, new powers, new magic items, new lore, and an adventure built around last month's legend. I honestly really like this release model for Kickstarter content. It's a cool way to dole out all of the stuff over the course of a year, and if you're running an Eldamon campaign, it guarantees a steady supply of fresh content for you to introduce to the game as it is finished. Each month is going to be themed around a specific element, and the first drop is going to be all about fire in the legendary Eldamon Fafnir. So if you want to check it out for yourself, all that stuff is going to be linked below. Thank you so much to Roll for Combat for sponsoring this week's video. I had a great time building my team, and suddenly I feel the urge to start a new campaign. Anyway.
Same. That's one of the things I hate the most about watching D&D content videos is I just get ideas. I want to run an entire campaign about this now. Ah! Or at least make a character about it.
Anyways, that's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then.
So yeah, that was Dungeon Dad. It was very fun. The Eldamon thing looks really cool. I was not expecting that was going to be an ad for the Eldamon campaign series, but yeah, go check it out. Make sure you like everything. If you want to get yourself a new D&D book, might be something to look into. Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. Wah! Hey, did you enjoy that? Was it funny? Well, come and check it out live over on twitch.tv/freeform_art. Make sure you put the _art. We have lots of fun there. We enjoy ourselves, and we want to see you over there. So come on and hang out. See you in a bit.